The show begins with a man named Sun-ung, a man who possesses insane, extraordinary powers. We soon learn that his powers grow stronger every single time he obtains more money. In the present time, Sun-ung is narrating his past life, back when he did not yet possess these crazy abilities. He tells us that those days were actually the happiest times of his life. We are then introduced to his girlfriend, Min-suk. She and Sun-ung had been together for 9 years, and she was the one who completely controlled and organized his life. She was everything to him. The two of them shared the same dream, to buy a large house that would belong to them alone. However, when they contacted the real estate company, they were told that the house they wanted was priced at 700 million won. At first, both of them were shocked by the price, but eventually they agreed that they would manage to gather that amount within 5 years. After that, they return home and begin planning how they will earn the money. While the two of them are eating together, Sun-ung receives a message informing him that an item he ordered is about to be delivered. Min-suk immediately becomes suspicious and tries to take his phone from him. Sun-ung lies to her and makes up an excuse, telling her that he ordered a bicycle to use for delivery work. We then learn that Min-suk is the one who constantly brings up the idea of marriage and buying a house together. She is extremely strict when it comes to money and always tries to control how her boyfriend spends it. Soon after, she offers to buy him a PlayStation 5, which completely confuses Sun-ung. He cannot understand what she is really planning. Later, we realize that she is doing all of this solely to push him into speeding up their marriage. Suddenly, Sun-ung receives a message from his father, telling him to come home because there is something very important he needs to discuss with him. Sun-ung immediately rushes to his family's house. We see that they live in a small house located outside the city. When he arrives, the first person he meets is his mother, whom he greets politely. After that, he goes into his father's room. From their interaction, it becomes clear that the two of them do not have a good relationship. To understand the reason behind this tension, the story takes us back to the past, when Sun-ung was 9 years old. At that time, his family was suffering from extremely severe financial problems. His father was drowning in massive debts, which only made the family's situation worse. One day, Sun-ung and his father get into an argument over a glass piggy bank filled with money. During the struggle, it falls to the ground and shatters into pieces. Sun-ung says, "People say that when you grow up, you eventually understand your parents, but that never happened to me." He accuses his father of being an irresponsible man. Back in the present, Sun-ung asks his father why he called him over. His father explains that he is thinking about quitting his job, then asks him whether he has any cash on him. Sun-ung pulls out 10,000 won. His father then grabs his hand and tells him that he is about to transfer a power that runs in their family. The power works like this. Whenever Sun-ung gains money or his wealth increases, he gains additional supernatural abilities in return. To test these newly transferred powers, Sun-ung's father suddenly strikes him in the head. Sun-ung manages to recover instantly by activating his powers, proving that the ability is real. His father then explains how he himself obtained these powers and tells him that they are inherited. He also gives Sun-ung 2 very important rules for using the power. He must secretly help people who are in trouble. He must never use other people's money to activate the power. At that moment, Sun-ung tries to give the power back to his father, but his father tells him that it is impossible because he has already retired from using it. Before Sun-ung leaves, his father gives him a phone number and tells him to call it if he ever gets into serious trouble. After that, Sun-ung leaves to meet his girlfriend Min-suk. At first, he tries to hide his new abilities from her, but he eventually has no choice but to tell her the truth, because there has never been anything they hide from each other. Min-suk initially believes he is lying and laughs at him, but Sun-ung tells her, "Watch closely." He puts money into his pocket right in front of her eyes and tells her to pay attention to what happens next. At that very moment, he bends a metal object using his powers. Min-suk is left completely shocked and stunned, unable to believe what she just witnessed. She tells him to take more money and bend another piece of metal. Sun-ung does exactly that. Only then does Min-suk finally accept and believe that his powers are real. However, because Min-suk is extremely strict and disciplined when it comes to money and finances, she begins to think deeply about how these powers actually work and about the danger they pose to their shared dream of building and owning a house. To understand the true limits of his abilities, she decides to test them in a game-like manner, carefully observing how they function. At the same time, she sets many strict rules for San-ung, warning him not to waste or damage their money while using his powers, since they are planning to get married and also buy a house together. After laying down these rules, she leaves. At that point, San-ung begins properly testing his abilities on his own. He suddenly flies into the sky, soaring freely as he explores the towering skyscrapers of Seoul, thoroughly enjoying the thrill of his powers. But as his money continues to decrease, he mutters to himself, "I didn't inherit powers from my father. I inherited poverty instead." The next day, he wakes up and prepares to go to work. We then learn that Min-suk has already set strict instructions for him. She tells him not to carry any cash in his pocket, not to run, and not to use any extra energy at all, because every single one of those things now requires money, and money is something they desperately need. On his way, San-ung sees an elderly woman struggling while carrying heavy items. He tries to help her, but then he suddenly remembers Min-suk's rules. The old woman becomes upset and walks away angrily. Later, as he enters his office building, he closes the door too forcefully, slamming it into a man walking behind him and spilling coffee all over him. Soon after, he sees a young woman carrying heavy bottles of water, but he walks past her without offering any help, again choosing to protect his money. When he finally arrives at work, his manager points out all the mistakes he made along the way and tells him that nothing went right today. The manager asks why he has been behaving so strangely, but San-ung hides his hand to conceal his powers, lies to his manager, and then leaves the place. That night, while sitting with Min-suk, San-ung suggests that they should make investments to earn more money. However, she immediately rejects the idea and tells him, "I don't want to hear about investments, crypto, or any of that nonsense. End this topic right now." Instead, she suggests that they sell all the items they don't need around the house so they can raise money that way. She even insists that they must sell both tablets, saying, "We need money more than anything." Although San-ung hesitates, he eventually agrees. He gathers the items and goes out to sell them. While doing so, he meets a man selling a PS5, which Min-suk had arranged online to buy for her husband. When they meet, the man says, "The person who contacted me was a woman. What happened?" San-ung replies, "She's my wife. She sent me to meet you." He checks the PS5 carefully and feels extremely happy with it. He gives the man the money and leaves, heading back toward the neighborhood. But as he walks away, he hears the man he just bought from being attacked by thieves who are trying to steal the money he has. San-ung wants to help him, but he remembers that helping would require spending money. In the end, he runs away from the scene. When he returns home, Min-suk asks him why he looks so shaken and frightened. San-ung lies again and tells her, "I was just running, and I lost 21. Later that night, San-ung relaxes while playing his new game, while Min-suk is busy on her phone. At that moment, we notice small wounds beginning to appear on San-ung's hands, injuries that show up whenever he does not use his powers. The next day, he meets his mother at a restaurant. She tells him she has a surprise for him, but she is shocked when she notices the wounds on his body. She tells him that his father used to have similar injuries. However, since his father always hid his powers, she was never told the truth. His mother then gives him 30 million won, saying, "This is all of my savings. It's for you and Min-suk, since you want to get married." She adds that she and his father are leaving for Spain, says goodbye, and walks away. San-ung says his farewell as well, but as he is on the road holding the money, something terrible happens. A car crashes into multiple vehicles, causing a massive accident. San-ung is horrified by what he sees. Then he notices a bus filled with many passengers, dangerously close to plunging into the sea. San-ung cannot bring himself to stand by and watch innocent people lose their lives. He decides to use his powers no matter the cost. He remembers his father's words, that he must help people in need. He rushes forward, grabs the bus, and pulls it back from the water, ultimately saving everyone on board. As he saves them, the entire 30 million won that his mother gave him disappears. Then we see a young woman being surrounded by a gang of criminals. The gang members have no idea that this girl belongs to a group of people who possess insane supernatural powers. We soon discover that she has the power of fire. Using her abilities, she defeats the gang members easily and effortlessly. Shortly after, the leader of the gang arrives. Her name is Joanna. She works with an extremely dangerous criminal organization that is involved in the illegal trafficking of human flesh. Joanna looks at the girl with fire powers and says mockingly, "Your powers mean nothing in front of me." She begins to ridicule her. In reality, Joanna wants to steal the girl's fire powers so she can use them to strengthen their illegal operations. On the other side of the story, we are introduced to the group of people with insane powers who are searching for their missing friend. This group includes Bion, a lawyer who also possesses supernatural abilities. His powers increase whenever he drinks alcohol. With him is Bung Mi, who also has extraordinary powers. Her strength increases whenever she eats a large amount of food, and her favorite food is bread. At the present time, they are searching for their friend who has the fire powers. While the duo are sitting together at a table, Bung Mi shows them a video of a man who saved a bus from falling into the sea. They realize that the man clearly possesses insane powers, but they are shocked when they notice that money spills out of his pocket every time he uses his abilities. The two of them immediately decide that they must find this man as quickly as possible in order to save the world. After that, we see our hero, San-ung, who is now sitting in prison. The police have arrested him, and he has no idea what crime he is being accused of. The prisoners around him begin to mock and laugh at him because of the rumors about his powers, but San-ung denies everything, insisting that he does not have any abilities at all. Suddenly, San-ung remembers what his father once told him, that if he ever found himself in serious trouble, he should call a certain phone number. When he calls the number, we discover that it belongs to a female crime boss. This woman has many outstanding debts that San-ung's father owes her. The next day, San-ung is released from prison and meets several men who were sent by the crime boss. They take him in her car and drive him to her office. On the way, she tells him that she already knows about the powers he possesses, and she also reminds him that his father owes her a large amount of money. Suddenly, without warning, a man strikes San-ung hard in the head. Meanwhile, the story returns to Joanna, who is overseeing her illegal operations involving human trafficking. At this moment, she forcibly extracts the fire powers from the girl she had kidnapped. After that, she orders her men to weaken San-ung's powers, explaining that this can be done by burning or draining his cash money. Back to San-ung, he regains consciousness and realizes that he is inside the office of the female crime boss who holds his father's debt. The woman throws money at him and says, "I want to see your powers with my own eyes." Immediately, members of her gang brutally beat San-ung. As he refuses to fight back, he is confused about what is happening. Eventually, the gang members believe he is dead and stop attacking him. However, the moment San-ung touches the money, his injuries instantly heal, his pain disappears, and his powers return. He then delivers a powerful punch to one of the men, sending him flying through the air. Everyone in the room, the gang members and the crime boss herself, are left completely stunned by his abilities. At the same time, we learn an important truth. Whenever San-ung runs out of money, his body becomes weak, exhausted, and completely drained of strength. Afterward, the crime boss orders her men to leave the room. She approaches San-ung and asks him where his father is now. San-ung tells her that his father has traveled to Spain. She then reveals the shocking truth. "Your father owes me 3 billion won, and now I want that money from you." San-ung is completely shocked by what he hears, but the woman calmly tells him that there is a much easier plan she can offer, one that would forgive all the money he owes. That plan is simple. He must marry her daughter. She wants full control over his powers. Soon after, the woman discovers that San-ung already has a girlfriend whom he loves deeply. She immediately decides to make that girl her new target. She also warns San-ung that there are other criminal organizations out there who want to take advantage of his money, and that his life is now in serious danger. San-ung escapes from her office by using his powers. Later that night, he returns home. His girlfriend Min-suk shows him the viral video of him saving the bus and asks, "Where did you get all that money you used to save those people?" San-ung panics and tries to lie, but when she raises her voice, he finally tells her the truth, that the money was 30 million won given to him by his mother. Min-suk becomes furious about the loss and tells him that she is going to attend her friend's wedding. Before leaving, she asks him a painful question. "When will it finally be our turn?" San-ung is unable to answer. Hurt and disappointed, Min-suk leaves. Suddenly, while San-ung is standing outside, a massive explosion hits the building he was living in. We learn that the explosion was caused by a group of violent-powered criminals known as the Mundane Vanguard. San-ung immediately runs away to escape them and heads to an isolated house where his family used to live. He begins questioning who these people are and why they are targeting him. Deeply worried about Min-suk, he tries calling her repeatedly, but she does not answer. The next day, Min-suk arrives at the event she planned to attend. When she turns on her phone, she sees many missed calls and messages from San-ung. However, we see that Joanna is secretly watching Min-suk, planning to harm her. Suddenly, a powerful explosion erupts inside the hotel where the event is being held. Panic spreads as everyone begins screaming and running for their lives. Meanwhile, San-ung sees the breaking news reporting that the hotel Min-suk went to is on fire. He is terrified and calls her again, but she still does not answer. San-ung rushes toward the city to save her. At that moment, Min-suk becomes trapped inside the burning hotel as flames spread everywhere. San-ung takes a large amount of their saved money and races toward the hotel. Inside the chaos, an unseen attacker attempts to kill Min-suk, but she narrowly survives. She is stunned when she sees San-ung lifting a massive wall that had been thrown from above to crush her. Using all his powers, San-ung throws the wall aside and pulls Min-suk into his arms. However, Min-suk is horrified when she realizes that the money used to save her was their entire savings. San-ung then uses his powers to break through walls and rescue everyone trapped inside the building. After saving the people, San-ung tells Min-suk for the first time that he is now truly planning their marriage. Min-suk is overwhelmed with happiness and tries to hug him, but suddenly, a man with fire powers attacks them. He was sent by Joanna. Using his money-powered abilities, San-ung decides to fight back. A brutal battle erupts between the two, with both men unleashing their supernatural powers. In the end, because San-ung has more money, he succeeds in defeating his enemy, saving Min-suk's life once again. But Min-suk is no longer thinking about survival or danger. Her mind is focused entirely on the money that was spent to save her. As San-ung lies exhausted on the ground, Baeyeon and Bung-mi, the two individuals with insane powers, arrive. They tell him that they are members of Korea's group of people with extraordinary abilities. San-ung is confused about why they are helping him, but Baeyeon explains that San-ung's father used to regularly buy him hot drinks and that he owes him a great debt of gratitude. He then hands San-ung some cash money so he can escape the area safely. At that moment, Sung-woo and Min-suk are rescued by the lawyer and Bang-eun. Shortly after, Sung-woo, still unconscious, suddenly wakes up and finds himself lying inside the lawyer's house. The lawyer then explains to Sung-woo that he is not the only person with powers. There are many others like him, including Bang-eun. He tells Sung-woo that his own ability allows him to pass through walls, but only when he drinks alcohol. He also explains that Bang-eun's power is the ability to control the air using her hands, and she can only activate this power after eating sweets. The lawyer continues by telling Sung-woo that there are organizations of powered individuals whose goal is to change the world using their abilities, and that he is the one bringing such people together. However, Sung-woo strongly opposes the idea of revealing his powers to the world and attempts to leave. At that point, the lawyer takes him into a room where classified information about powered individuals is stored, information about people who are being hunted by others. The lawyer reveals that Sung-woo is now one of their main targets. Elsewhere, Joanna, a member of the group known as Mundane Vanguard, calls her father and tells him that she tried to capture Sung-woo but failed. She explains that Sung-woo is currently under Baeyeon-ho's protection, but she is still trying to capture him. Back at the house, when the lawyer tells Sung-woo that he is being targeted and that the Mundane Vanguard are hunting him, Sung-woo is shocked. He asks what he is supposed to do now. Baeyeon tells him to continue living his normal life, but to strengthen himself by training his body, exercising constantly, and going to the gym. Baeyeon then begins training Sung-woo in boxing. However, even without using his money-powered abilities, Sung-woo overwhelms Baeyeon with punches because he is already stronger and more powerful than him. Realizing this, Sung-woo decides to train seriously, pushing himself to the limit. Eventually, he succeeds in gaining real physical strength through discipline and effort. Afterward, Baeyeon shows Sung-woo pictures of a massive building belonging to the Mundane Vanguard where they carry out their illegal activities. Their current mission is to destroy that place completely. On the other side, Bang-eun brings Sung-woo special underwear designed to store money securely so it won't fall out accidentally. She also gives him a face mask so he can hide his identity. After training for several days, Sung-woo develops visible strength and muscles. He begins wearing the mask whenever he goes out to save people, keeping his identity hidden. The next day, Byun and Bang-eun take Sung-woo with them to a rural village where a blind old man lives. This man is also a powered individual. His ability is to see the future. Sung-woo enters the old man's room. Suddenly, the old man slams the table and the entire house begins to shake violently. In an instant, his eyes turn completely white. Sung-woo is terrified. The old man then speaks words that Sung-woo cannot understand at all. Moments later, the old man returns to his normal state, as if nothing ever happened. After that, Sang steps outside. The lawyer explains to him that the old man's power is the ability to see the future, but every time he sees the future, he forgets the past. As the three of them sit outside together, the old man suddenly comes out and warns them that Joanna is approaching. At that very moment, Joanna's forces launch a sudden attack. Byun quickly drinks alcohol to activate his power, then charges into battle against Anna's soldiers. Even though they vastly outnumber him, he fights them head-on. Sang notices that the Joanna forces are beginning to overwhelm Byun. At that moment, Sang remembers the woman who had earlier told him that his father was in debt to her and that she wanted him to marry her daughter. Sang contacts that woman and tells her that he is willing to do everything she wants, but asks her to lend him money first. Soon after, Joanna herself arrives at the scene. She is the daughter of the owner of the mundane organization, and she comes accompanied by a massive army. When the old man with powers sees Joanna, he uses his ability to look into her future and tells her, "Death is closer to you than you think. The bullet you fire will return to you." Joanna becomes furious and fires a shot at the old man, but by pure luck, Sang catches the bullet with his hand, his pockets now stuffed with the money he borrowed for the debt. A fierce battle erupts between the powered individuals and Anna's soldiers. Sang defeats every single enemy using his powers. At the same time, Byun and Bang fight alongside him, activating their abilities through alcohol and sweets. Thanks to their combined strength, they manage to overpower and defeat all of Joanna's forces. However, suddenly another powered man appears, one completely different from the others Anna brought with her. His power is pure physical strength, and his hands are engulfed in fire. He attacks Sang relentlessly. Everywhere he touches Sang, his body burns. Meanwhile, Sang's money begins to run out, and as it does, his powers start to weaken. Even so, Sang refuses to give up. He pushes back against the fiery man and finally throws him far away, smashing him into a building. As a result, the man's flaming hands are extinguished. After that, the two of them begin fighting inside the water. The man tries to drown Sang-woo, but by sheer luck, Sang-woo finds coins in the water. That money immediately restores his strength, allowing him to survive and push the man back. Everyone watching is left in shock by how powerful Sang-woo becomes whenever he has money. Soon after, Joanna receives a call from her father who tells her, "Put Sang-woo on the phone." When Sang-woo answers the call, a voice says to him, "You already know the power money holds. I am the owner of the mundane organization. Our battle is based on money. Whoever has more money is stronger. So what do you think? How about I buy your superpower from you?" From that day onward, the mundane organization reduces their attacks on Sang-woo. On the other hand, Min-suk calls Sang-woo while she is in a car and tells him that both of their parents will be meeting. Soon after, the police arrive at the scene of the earlier battle. A detective finds coins scattered on the ground and a loan document with the name Kang Sang-woo written on it. Sang-woo then visits his parents and tells them that he wants to marry Min-suk and that he also wants them to meet her parents. His parents are extremely happy to hear this. Sang-woo also tells his father that the mundane organization has offered to buy his powers. His father warns him to be careful, telling him that they are a dangerous group and that he should never trust them. Later, Sang-woo goes to work, deeply thinking about his father's words and the offer made by the mundane organization. He wonders who he should talk to for advice and then decides to consult Bang. He goes to the bakery where she works and asks her whether anyone has ever sold their powers before. Bang tells him that those people are extremely dangerous and that they are currently holding Hwa Jin, the girl whose power was fire. They stole her abilities. She then shows him files containing information about superpowers and people who previously sold their powers for money. Meanwhile, Bion visits a doctor, where he is told that he has kidney damage caused by the excessive amount of alcohol he drinks to activate his powers. Elsewhere, Anna and her father are having dinner together. Her father says that he is willing to do anything and pay any amount of money to buy Sang-woo's superpower. At the same time, Sang-woo calculates all the debts he owes and all the money he still needs. He then calls the owner of the mundane organization and tells him that he has made his decision. He will sell his power for 4,600,000,000 won. The man agrees and tells him that once everything is ready, he will set a time and place for the deal. Happy and relieved, Sang-woo goes to Min-suk. He brings her expensive sweets that she loves, then takes her outside and flies with her, lifting her above the city and carrying her to the highest point in town. He tells her that he will bring her one of the stars and begins flying higher. Min-suk panics and begs him to stop, telling him that it's dangerous. Sang-woo pretends that he is about to fly again, but suddenly he pulls out a ring and places it on her finger. Min-suk is overjoyed, but she asks him why he is doing all of this today. He tells her, "I'll explain everything when the time is right." The two of them, filled with happiness, watch the stars together. The next day, Sang-woo goes to work in a great mood. He begins helping everyone without thinking about money at all, even holding doors open for people. Everyone around him is shocked by the sudden change. While he is at work, a customer arrives and introduces himself as Joe Nathan. He speaks in a strange and unsettling way, which makes Sang-woo suspicious, but he changes the subject. Suddenly, police officers arrive looking for Sang-woo. Sang-woo immediately runs from his workplace, escapes the officers, jumps into a car parked outside, and drives away at full speed. After that, Sang-eun calls the manager of Mandam and tells him that he wants to sell his power immediately. When he arrives at the Mandam facility, he finds Byung standing at the gate. The two of them question why each other is there, and soon after, they begin fighting, both using their powers. Suddenly, Bang arrives and starts throwing objects and trash at them. At the same time, she eats her sweets, activating her power. She pulls electric poles straight out of the ground and hurls them at both Sang-eun and Byung. A three-way battle erupts between them, each using their abilities, fighting fiercely until eventually their sources of power, money, sweets, and alcohol, run out. After that, Sang-eun enters Mandam House, the place where he is supposed to transfer his power. As soon as he goes inside, he encounters Anna, who tells him to get on the operating table. Sang-eun refuses and tells her to show him the money first. Once the money is shown, Sang-eun climbs onto the operating table, and his hands and legs are strapped down with metal restraints. At that moment, Anna receives a phone call. She orders her men that once Sang-eun's power is extracted, they must kill him. But something unexpected happens. Sang-eun, Byung, and Bong-mi had already planned everything together in advance. Sang-eun came here on purpose to infiltrate the facility and retrieve the files and drugs related to the superpowers that had been stolen from others. Smiling at Anna, Sang-eun says, "My power is my inheritance. I will never sell it." Just as they are about to extract his power, Byung suddenly bursts in and fires a shot at the bag of money. The cash explodes into the air, scattering everywhere. At the same time, Bang-mi cuts the electricity to the entire facility using her power. Sang-eun grabs the flying money, regains his strength, and breaks free from the metal restraints on his hands. The men try to kill him, but Sang-eun overpowers them all. Sang-eun then enters a flashback, revealing how everything was planned. When he and Bang-mi investigated the files, they discovered the true intentions of the Mandam Vanguard. That is when they decided to pretend that Sang-eun had agreed to sell his power, so he could infiltrate the facility from the inside. Once the extraction began, Byung and Bang-mi would storm in. After defeating the men, Byung joins Sang-eun inside. Together, they smash open a large safe and take out all the files stored inside. They also set fire to the superpower drugs kept in the facility. Taking both the files and the money, they escape. As the enemies swarm toward them, Sang-eun manages to hide the money bag in a safe place. At that moment, Min-suk calls Sang-eun and tells him that there are only 2 days left until both families meet. She says she has already reserved a discounted restaurant and the meeting will be on Friday at 7 p.m., telling him to inform his parents. As Sang-eun and Byung try to escape by jumping from the building, they are suddenly surrounded by gunmen. Fortunately, Bong-mi arrives just in time, ramming the men with a car and picking up Sang-eun and Byung. Inside the car, Sang-eun laments the fact that he lost 4 billion won. While reviewing the files they recovered, he notices a name, Joe Nathan. Sang-eun suddenly remembers the man he had previously encountered at his workplace. Joe Nathan is revealed to be the son of the chairman of the Mandam organization, the brother of Anna, and the person in control of the superpower extraction devices used on victims. Sang-eun and his friends search for Joe Nathan's address and eventually find it. When they arrive at his house, they discover that it is completely empty. However, they notice a long-range surveillance camera installed on the building. When they check the footage, they see terrified people jumping off a building, while Joe Nathan stands calmly nearby. Later that night, when Sang-eun returns home, he sees that Min-suk is already asleep. She has prepared dinner for him and left a note beside it that reads, "Come early tomorrow." The next day, when Sang arrives at work, his manager scolds him harshly and tells him that 3 months' salary will be deducted as a penalty. This is because the police came to his workplace and caused chaos inside the building. He is also ordered to write an official report for both the police officers and the detective. After that, Sang is taken to the police station where he is interrogated. The detective continues to lecture him and warns him not to interfere in matters that are not his responsibility ever again. When Sang finally leaves the station, Byung tells him that the detective used to be someone who possessed a superpower. Elsewhere, Joe Nathan and his sister Anna are sitting together. We learn that the two of them hate each other deeply. Ever since they were children, their relationship has been toxic, to the point that Anna once wanted to shoot him. Their father then arrives and tells Joe Nathan that he has officially handed over the management of the laboratory where superpowers and related projects are handled. Meanwhile, Sang and his team begin investigating the people who were jumping off buildings. The lawyer explains that the Mandam organization has been conducting illegal experiments involving drugs and chemical substances. These drugs are secretly given to civilians, causing their minds to collapse, driving them insane, and ultimately pushing them to commit suicide. The drugs are distributed through nightclubs and are delivered every day inside a Hermes bag of a specific color. The team decides that they must stop this filthy organization before more innocent people are killed inside the club. Sang returns home, where Min-suk is full of excitement. She starts showing him new, expensive clothes she bought for him to wear to the meeting between their two families. When morning arrives, Sang puts on his suit, while Min-suk wears a dress suitable for work, after which they plan to attend the family dinner together. Sang decides that he must first intercept the Hermes bag containing the drugs before going to the family dinner. Sang and his team arrive at the club and begin searching for the red Hermes bag. Sang and Bong-mi search carefully. Even though there are many red bags inside the club, they eventually find the right one. The bag is being carried by a woman who is accompanying Joe Nathan. Sang tries to take the bag from her, but the woman turns out to be a super-powered individual. She resists fiercely, blocks his use of money-powered abilities, and begins attacking him with brutal force. She slashes at him with a knife, striking from different directions. In the end, Sang manages to land a powerful punch, grabs the bag, and takes it from her. However, as they try to escape, they witness something shocking, Joe Nathan's true plan. Suddenly, the lights in the entire club are turned off. A voice announces that there is a special surprise for everyone. Whoever finds a red Hermes bag will become a special person. Instantly, all the people in the club turn towards Sang, who is holding the red bag. They begin attacking him violently, trying to steal the bag from him. Sang has no money left to activate his powers, so the crowd overwhelms him. Bong-mi tries desperately to grab the bag, but she is unable to reach him. Byung attempts to call Sang, but when he realizes that Sang is in serious danger, he rushes inside the club himself. At the same time, Min-suk tries calling Sang because it is already time for their family meeting, but Sang is trapped in the middle of the chaos and cannot answer his phone. At that very moment, Byung suddenly enters through the wall, determined to save his friends while avoiding being captured. On the other side, Bong-mi tries to wake San-eung, and together they attempt to escape without being noticed. The detective officer spots them and everyone freezes in shock. Luckily, Byung quickly grabs a red cloth and rushes forward, managing to rescue his friends just in time. The detective officer looks around the area and realizes that they have escaped. He feels a deep sense of failure and frustration. San-ung, Byeon, and Bung-mi, all three of them, successfully escape with the bag of drugs and land on the lower level. San-ung prepares to leave immediately. Byeon asks him where he is going. San-ung replies that he is heading to the dinner where Min-suk's family and his family will meet for the first time. Byeon tells him to wait, hands him cash money, encourages him, and even straightens his suit. He says to him, "I know how difficult it is to balance having extraordinary power while living a normal life. It's a heavy burden." San-ung then leaves, trying to reach the dinner as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Min-suk's family and San-ung's family are still waiting for him to arrive so they can have dinner together. There is a knock at the door. Min-suk assumes it is San-ung, but when she opens the door, it is the detective officer standing there. Everyone is shocked. The detective speaks to Min-suk and says, "I need to know where San-ung is. Where is he?" She replies, "I don't know where he is." The detective says he suspects San-ung and wants to investigate. Min-suk responds angrily, "Are you really believing what's spreading online? That he has superpowers and that money is his source of strength? I thought you were smarter than that, detective." She laughs and says, "Why don't you come out, all of you who are hiding?" As she continues speaking, many police officers appear. At that exact moment, San-ung arrives. Min-suk continues her speech, saying that San-ung uses his money to save other people, that he fights criminals and drug dealers, and that he does a job far better than any of them. She challenges them, saying, "Do all of you really want to arrest a man who does all of this? You're the ones who failed at your jobs." San-ung steps forward and apologizes. Min-suk looks at him and says, "Didn't I tell you not to be late?" He apologizes again, realizing that he has made another mistake. Elsewhere, we see Byeon and Bung-mi arriving at the office, talking about everything that happened. Byeon asks who called the police. Bung-mi says, "I thought it was you." Byeon replies, "No." Suddenly, Joanna enters and says, "I'm the one who called the police." She says it was necessary to call them because illegal activities were happening. Bung-mi tries to react, but she notices a gun aimed at her head, and she freezes. We then see San-ung being arrested. He says, "I didn't commit any crime." The detective replies, "Didn't I warn you that if I saw you again, I would arrest you? Too many people are getting hurt." San-ung responds, "So what do you want me to do? Sit back and do nothing while criminals harm people, even though we have powers that can save them." The detective leaves without answering. Another night arrives. We see Min-suk alone at home, overwhelmed with sadness. She remembers San-ung being taken away. She stands up and searches through his clothes. She finds a document, a loan paper. She reads it and realizes it says 25 million won debt, taken by San-ung from Jeonja. She becomes even more shocked and confused, not knowing what to do. The next day, we see Joe Nathan visiting San-ung in prison. He mocks him and says, "You have no idea how much I've suffered to see you end up here." We see flashbacks to the first day Joe Nathan noticed San-ung's power, when he saved the bus, and how he secretly helped people. We also see memories from the night they escaped the drug club. Joe Nathan says, "I did everything to control you, and I can help you get out of here." He turns to leave, then suddenly stops and says, "Min-suk? Is that her name?" San-ung freezes and answers, "Yes." Joe Nathan looks back at him and says coldly, "If Min-suk comes anywhere near me, she will die." On the other side, Min-suk, while walking, begins to sense that someone is following her. She tries to run away, but no matter where she goes, they surround her from every direction. At the same time, we see San-ung being secretly transported to court, escorted by a criminal group. He attempts to escape, but then suddenly realizes that his friends Byeon and Bung-mi are there as well, along with other criminals led by Joanna. Shocked, San-ung asks, "What is going on here?" They reply calmly, "It's normal." All three of them are taken to an office. Joanna tells Byeon, "I did what you wanted, I saved your friend. Now you must do what I want." She explains that she deeply hates her brother Jonathan and presents them with a proposal. However, San-ung is suspicious of her intentions and fears betrayal. Joanna explains that the drug storage bank is about to be raided, and San-ung asks, "What does Jonathan have to do with the storage bank?" She responds that her father no longer trusts her and that he moved all the superpower drugs to that location. She also reveals that the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has approved many dangerous substances. If those drugs reach the market, it would be catastrophic. destroying countless lives and everything in their path. They are stunned by the seriousness of the situation. Baeon says that their job is to retrieve the drugs from the storage bank and stop them from being distributed. Joanna then shows them the hidden section of the bank where the drugs are stored, along with the surveillance cameras, escape routes, and security layout. She warns them to be extremely careful so they don't get caught. She hands them a key, explaining that it will help them identify where the drug containers are stored once inside. She also warns them that there is a hidden vault, but accessing it will not be easy. It requires her father's authorization to open. However, she reminds them, "You are a team of superpowered people, aren't you? Your job is to save the world. Jonathan doesn't want that." After she leaves, Sanung and his friends are still unsure whether they can trust Joanna, knowing how deceitful she is. They fear she may hand them over to her father. Sanung asks Baeon, "How can you trust a woman like her, knowing how dangerous she is?" Baeon replies, "I know the risk, but we must stop this disaster before it happens." Sanung remains unconvinced and tells his friends, "That woman only wants to eliminate Jonathan." Later, Sanung meets Min-suk, who warns him, "Don't trust those people." He asks why, and she explains that she overheard their plans, that they are bad people. Sanung tells her that she doesn't understand the full situation. Min-suk then pulls out the loan document. Sanung is shocked and asks how she got it. She tells him that she works with Jongja, the same company from which he took the loan. He is stunned and asks why she works with them. She replies that she also took out a loan without telling him. She continues, saying that the family dinner has already been ruined, everything is falling apart, and that maybe it would have been better if he had simply used his money to gain power instead of risking their lives fighting criminals. She says, "You put our lives in danger, and honestly, I've had enough." Sanung takes her hand and says, "I also want to live a happy, normal life with you, like ordinary people. That's the life I want to build. That's why I'm doing all of this. I want everyone to be safe and everything to return to normal. I'm the one who can make that happen. Please be patient with me." Min-suk asks him, "How much money do you need to finish this and escape this nightmare?" Sanung replies, 30 million, borrow it for me." Min-suk goes to Jongja to take out a loan. When asked why she needs the money, she explains that Sanung is going to infiltrate the criminals' storage bank. After convincing them, she secures the loan and brings the money to Sanung. He is extremely grateful and relieved. The day arrives for the bank infiltration. San-young and his friends stand in front of the storage bank, amazed by how heavily fortified it is. They enter the building. Joanna watches them from above, secretly ordering her soldiers to capture San-ung and his friends once they retrieve the drugs. Her true plan is to betray them and hand them over to her father. Unaware of the trap, the three of them enter the bank and begin their mission. Baeon heads deeper inside, while Sanung and Bung-mi stay behind to monitor the cameras and security systems. Baeon tells them, "It's starting." They prepare themselves. Suddenly, all the doors lock at once. The operation has begun. A fierce battle breaks out. San-ung, Baeon, and Bung-mi each struggle desperately, trying to use their own powers. Bung-mi uses her ability to force open a door, and we see that Joanna's true goal is to have San-ung handed over alive. Her soldiers storm inside, but they are met with heavy resistance. San-ung hides under a table, gripping money tightly in his hand. He rises and realizes that everything is flooded with water. Then he notices that it was Bung-mi who caused it. She begins to feel nauseous. San-ung tells her, "You've pushed yourself too hard. Take a moment and rest." The soldiers continue fighting. Baeon realizes that they've fallen into a trap, but he says firmly, "We're not giving up." San-ung and Bung-mi remain below and ask him whether he has reached the hidden vault. Baeon replies that it isn't safe. The situation becomes extremely dangerous. Their signal suddenly cuts off. San-ung and Bung-mi try to move upstairs to help Baeon, but when they arrive, they find Baeon lying on the ground. They are shocked. At that moment, Jonathan enters with his men. He mocks San-ung and says, "Where is your power now? Does it only come when you have money?" He humiliates San-ung. Furious, San-ung replies, "Now I'll show you what I can really do." Jonathan holds a device and says that once everything is ready, they will release the drug. San-ung asks him why he is doing all of this. Jonathan answers that they want to make money, and that he also wants to take superpowers for himself, which requires a massive amount of money. The soldiers point their guns at San-ung. San-ung tries to activate his power using money, then says he just wants to go to Min-suk to tell her something important. But first, he must stop them. A brutal fight erupts. San-ung fights with everything he has. Suddenly, Byeon stands up and throws San-ung into another room, sacrificing himself to save him. Jonathan's men capture Byeon and Bungmi, tying their hands. They try to resist, but suddenly San-ung returns. In one explosive moment, he shatters everything around him, his pockets filled with money. He storms back into the fight. San-ung tells Bungmi, "Get outside, take Byeon with you. I'll finish this." The enemies try to stop him with gunfire, but he keeps advancing. A violent battle continues. Jonathan sneers, "Is this really the limit of your power?" San-ung attacks him, but then realizes that his power is weakening. At that moment, the detective officer crashes into the scene, smashing in with his vehicle. He says to San-ung, "Don't you see? You don't have any power." He forcibly drags San-ung away and accuses Jonathan of selling drugs, but the detective refuses to listen further. He shouts at San-ung, "Didn't I tell you that taking action like this only causes people to get hurt?" They argue intensely. The detective says, "Criminals have always existed since the beginning of time, and they always will. Stop this before you destroy yourself." Another day comes. Joanna arrives at the drug storage bank, smiling with confidence. She orders everything to be collected, believing she has finally gotten what she wanted. But suddenly, she sees Jongja's group attacking. She realizes she is in danger. The group her father owes money to has come to reclaim their debt. They begin smashing everything. Elsewhere, San-ung visits his father and tells him that he has lost his superpower. His father replies, "Didn't I tell you never to use other people's money?" San-ung snaps back angrily. "Then where am I supposed to get money from?" He asks when his power will return. His father answers, "No one knows. It's like everything else." San-ung shouts, "Why didn't you give me money along with the power if you knew it worked this way?" His father calmly replies, "Because it was never about money." San-ung yells, "Then what is it?" His father says, "If your power were only about money, would you allow criminals to win? Would you let your friends get hurt? You used your mother's money to save people. That wasn't money. It was who you are. Your power isn't money. It's your humanity." San-ung falls silent, unsure what to do. His father shows him a small bottle with coins inside and tells him that everything is not money. It is the person he is. San-ung returns home holding the small bottle his father gave him, still thinking deeply about how he can regain his power. When he enters the house, he calls Min-suk, but her phone rings unanswered. Then he hears her voice. She has been kidnapped. He grabs the phone. A voice tells him that she is with Jonathan. San-ung tries to stay calm and talk carefully, but then he hears a gunshot. He freezes in terror. On the other side, Min-suk tells Jonathan that San-ung's time before death is almost over and that he is on his way. Jonathan doesn't take it seriously at all, but she adds that a powerful man is coming to finish this once and for all. Meanwhile, San-ung is deep in thought, holding the suit Min-suk bought for him in his hands. Memories flood his mind. Tears stream from his eyes. He finally comes face to face with Jonathan and his people. He asks, "Where is Min-suk?" She mocks him and throws money at him, saying, "Show me your power." Inside, San-ung thinks, "That's what killed me. If my power were money, anyone could just come and take it." She tells him, "If you defeat me now, you'll get your girlfriend back. You only have a few days left." They begin to fight, but San-ung is clearly weak. He is exhausted and has no power at all. She laughs and says, "You've lost your power." Suddenly, Bungmi enters, using her power. Baeon also arrives and smashes the woman into a wall. He shouts at San-ung, calling him a loser and saying he has never truly won anything. San-ung replies that he had no other choice. Power or no power. Baeon tells him to think carefully, that this is not how he should face things. San-ung then moves toward the criminals holding Min-suk. In his heart, he realizes the truth. It was never my power that mattered. I have to save people. He climbs to the top of the building, hoping to defeat the criminals. He throws himself down. He crashes to the ground. The criminals rush toward him, trying to kill him, but suddenly his power returns. He grips money in his hand, and with 10,000 won, he defeats each of them. A brutal battle begins. Jonathan is told that San-ung has arrived. He turns to Min-suk and sneers, "Your loser has come!" She replies coldly, "Death is near. All of you will die." Jonathan prepares himself. Meanwhile, San-ung has already defeated all the guards below. He calls out for Min-suk and starts moving upward. He encounters more enemies. He pulls out money, but it's not enough. As he struggles, Byeon and Bung-mi arrive, trying to help him. The criminals hold Min-suk hostage. She shouts, "Be careful, San-ung." San-ung sprints forward. His friends prepare themselves. He leaps across and reaches the place where Min-suk is being held. She is terrified. Jonathan says mockingly, "San-ung, you're late." San-ung replies, "I was busy." A shot rings out. San-ung is shot in the hand. Min-suk screams in fear. Jonathan realizes that San-ung no longer has his power. He says, "Give me your power and let's end this. Then you and your girlfriend can leave alive." Jonathan is holding a remote control connected to bombs. If he presses it, everyone will die. He says, "If you want to save her, get into the elevator." As San-ung hesitates, Byeon suddenly attacks, injuring Jonathan's men. Jonathan fires and shoots Min-suk. At the same moment, San-ung and Jonathan collide inside the elevator where the bombs are. Min-suk runs toward them, begging San-ung to open the door, but he refuses. The explosion happens. San-ung dies. Another night falls. We see Byeon and Bung-mi watching the news, devastated by their friend's death. On the other side, Min-suk sits in grief, holding a small note in her hand. Byeon and Bung-mi arrive to share her sorrow. Byeon tells her that there may still be a way for San-ung to live. He explains that the detective has a power to turn back time. Min-suk runs to the detective. When she reaches him, he asks, "Did Byeon send you?" She nods and begs him desperately. At first, the detective refuses. He says, "What's the point? There's nothing I can do." But Min-suk convinces him, telling him about everything she and San-ung had planned, including their marriage. Suddenly, they are attacked. In desperation, the detective hands her his watch. Time immediately begins to rewind. Min-suk runs to the place where San-ung died. She puts money into his hand and cries, "San-ung." Slowly, San-ung rises. They embrace tightly, both of them crying. Inside, San-ung thinks, "How did this happen? How did I come back to life?" He is completely stunned. The detective prevents him from being arrested. Byeon and Bung-mi are there too, overwhelmed with happiness. As they leave, San-ung suddenly says, "Wait, I don't think Jonathan is dead." His friends are shocked. Elsewhere, we see Jonathan returning to his father. He says, "Is it really so hard to come back home?" His father replies, "I played a part in how you left and how you returned." At that moment, Joanna enters, smiling, believing she has won. She points a gun and tells Jonathan to say his last words. When she fires, the bullet rebounds and strikes her instead. She collapses. Jonathan looks down at her and says, "You're the one who lost." He shoots her again and walks away. Now weakened, Jonathan goes to a laboratory and injects himself with power-enhancing substances to regain strength. Meanwhile, San-ung and his friends head toward Jonathan to confront him. They find his allies dead and see that Jonathan has been using multiple powers. San-ung receives a phone call. It's Jonathan. He says, "We need to finish our business." San-ung asks where he is. We then see Jonathan destroying the city, setting everything on fire. He spots a little girl and mocks her. At that moment, San-ung appears and tells the girl, "Go inside." Finally, San-ung and Jonathan stand face to face. Jonathan shows San-ung his powers, trying to frighten him. But San-ung is not afraid at all. He says calmly, "I know what you're thinking. I know it looks beautiful in the beginning, but in the end, it's not like that. A normal life is better than everything else. Take my advice." Jonathan scoffs and replies, "Do you want to have power again?" He grabs San-ung forcefully by the arm and throws him high into the air. San-ung crashes through a house and immediately apologizes to the family inside. He stands back up and returns to face Jonathan, and the two of them begin fighting again. Jonathan asks mockingly, "Did you get your power back?" San-ung replies, "I've waited a long time to punch you in the face, end your filth, and put you behind bars." They clash violently, using every bit of power they have. Jonathan falls to the ground, completely drained of energy, but he still refuses to surrender. He keeps fighting. San-ung also struggles, doing everything he can to win. Nearby, Byeon and Bung-mi try desperately to help their friend, but they are unable to intervene. San-ung lies on the ground, powerless. Jonathan stands over him and sneers, "You don't have any money, do you?" "What's wrong? Didn't you say money isn't power? Where is your power now? Wasn't it in your heart?" He lifts San-ung and throws him again. San-ung laughs and slowly stands back up. He says, "Who else will stand against injustice?" He tries to fight again, still without power, and collapses to the ground. From a window above, the little girl San-ung saved earlier shouts, "You will win! Don't be afraid!" She throws money down to him. Then more people begin throwing money toward San-ung. As the money reaches him, his power returns. At the same time, Bungmi's power returns and she rises back up. San-ung regains enough strength to stand. Min-suk runs to him and says, "Don't worry anymore. Let's finish this fool." She throws money to him as well. Even the police officers begin throwing money toward San-ung. Everyone joins in to help him. Jonathan charges forward to fight San-ung again, but suddenly Bungmi binds both of Jonathan's arms and he can no longer move. Baeon locks onto his legs, holding him down. Together, they restrain him completely. San-ung wins. He becomes a hero, and the leader of the criminal organization is finally arrested. Another day, we see Bungmi using her powers to help a woman, shielding her from hot tea. The woman is shocked and deeply grateful. Bungmi smiles and says, "Bring me some bread." On the other side, San-ung is now able to buy an apartment for himself and Min-suk. Min-suk is overjoyed that their dream has finally come true. She runs through every room excitedly. San-ung smiles and says, "This is our dream home?" Then he says, "Didn't you tell me you had something happy to share?" Min-suk hands him a note. It says that she is pregnant. San-ung is overwhelmed with happiness, happier than ever before. Min-suk smiles and says, "I heard it takes about 361 to raise a child." San-ung laughs and replies, "That's happiness, but the real question is, does raising a child really cost that much money? Where did you hear that?" She answers, "The news." They laugh together, and just like that, the story ends.